Eagles Entertainment.
Eagle Eye in the Sky is fueled by Gatorade, the official sports drink of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Anything that moves, I don't care who it is. Let's go. Give me everything you got. Play fast, play hard. Let's meet these boys tonight in their house. It's party time. It's party time. Here we go. Touchdown!
You are listening to the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast. Now here's your host, Fran Duffy.
That's right of the week, and we've got Eagles Jets Take Two today as the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, fueled by Gatorade, continues. I'm Fran Duffy, and as always, I think we've got a great show for you here on episode number 349. At the top of this week's show, we've got Chalk Talk, where I catch up with both Chris McPherson and Ben Fennell. Let's talk about what we saw here on the practice field today, the second of two joint practices between the Eagles and the Jets. I focused in on the defensive side of the football today. C-Mac and Ben focused in more on the offensive side of the football ahead of the team's third and final preseason game on Friday up here in North Jersey. Excited to get into all of that. Now, real quick, before we get started with the show, a couple quick reminders. Number one, if you're into college football, the NFL draft, college football starts this weekend. This Saturday, we've got actual college football games. So we are previewing that over on the Journey to the Draft podcast. Not only are we going to talk about some of the prospects to watch here this weekend, but we also did a full 32-pick mock draft. Myself, Dane Brugler from The Athletic, Ben Fennell, as always, and then Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus. All four of us got together. We made 32 selections previewing this year's college football season, next year's NFL draft. Make sure you go check that out over on the Journey to the Draft podcast. While you're there, shoot us a rating, shoot us a comment. Same thing here on this show. If you've got a question about the Eagles, about this upcoming season, go on to Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Search for this show, leave us a rating, leave us a comment. I appreciate everybody that has had the chance to do so over these last few weeks. I believe today will be our final training camp recap daily show, because I believe now at this point, we don't know for sure, but it seems like this is around the time when those daily practices will end from a media standpoint. So we will be back starting our regularly scheduled regular season programming coming up here in a couple weeks. We'll have Greg Cosell back every single Monday night going into Tuesday morning, previewing the upcoming opponent, recapping what we saw the previous week. Maybe we'll catch up with Greg next week to preview this entire Eagles season. We've got a lot in store for you right here on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast. Enough about big picture, though. Let's get into what we saw here today in Florham Park. For that, we're going to welcome in Chris McPherson and Ben Fennell. It's time for Chalk Talk.
Let's get down to business. It's time for Chalk Talk.
All right, guys, let's jump right in here as the Eagles take on the New York Jets for the second of two joint practices. Like I said earlier, C-Mac, any transactions or injury notes to know about before we get started here?
This is a quick one. I want to get to the action on the field. I would say the most notable injury one is Jacoby Stevens. The rookie linebacker was a full participant. He had been playing in a limited fashion, coming back from a hamstring injury several weeks ago. Made a nice play during the scrimmage at the end of practice. I'm sure we'll get to that. A couple players, linebacker Patrick Johnson, safety Elijah Riley, they got attended to in the medical garage. Outside of that, nothing notable, whether it's guys coming back or guys being added to the injury list.
The medical garage. I love it.
It was more. It wasn't a tent. It's an actual garage they went into. So
exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the big takeaways, guys. I focused in on the defensive side. You guys more on the offense. We kind of flipped from what we did yesterday. I'll let you guys kick things off. You guys watch the offense and Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, everybody else. Big takeaways. Ben, I'll come to you first. Big takeaway from today at practice.
Well, I think what we saw on the offensive side is a lot of what's expected this season, and it's a marriage of running backs in the pass game and athletic offensive line. So what do you get with those two? The screen game. I thought we saw tons of screens today and a variety of them. I mentioned to the running backs, but slot receivers, tight ends, variety of offensive linemen just leaking out to the perimeter and just taking a snapshot of, Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson and Kelsey and Sam Alu. Some athletic offensive linemen where on any given play, you don't know if they're blocking you vertically off the ball or just sprinting out to the left and to the right. And it was really fun just to see them say, set hut, and then Lane Johnson sprint out to the perimeter to go block a corner or something like that. So I think we're going to be trying to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands this year, but it feeds into the strength of the team of these athletic pass catchers, athletic after the catch, and an athletic, versatile offensive line. I thought today really showed and demonstrated what this O-line can do.
I'm going to follow up on that, and I think the blocking extends to the perimeter as well. Because if you're going to have these guys going out on screens, you're going to need time for the Mailatas and the Lane Johnsons and the Kelseys to get into space. You're going to need those guys on the perimeter to hold up. So no matter who the receivers are on the outside or the tight ends, they've got to be able to block. It's going to be a complete team effort to make this thing go. Another thing, there was one rep in particular that I liked. Pre-snap, it was Watkins and Rager were lined up to the wide of the ball, and they just switched positions. It was Watkins was on the outside. All of a sudden, he goes into the slot, and Rager goes to the outside. And it shows the importance of that these receivers are going to need to be interchangeable. They can't just be fixated on one spot. And that's going to present some challenges for defenses, especially in man coverage, to figure out what their assignments are going to be. So they can't just say, all right, this guy's coming on the field, he's going to be the slot. Nick Sirianni is going to try to mix things up and put defenders in a bind just before the snap of the ball.
C-Mac, you watched the O-line, D-line one-on-ones, right? So you watched the Eagles offensive line today. Any big takeaways from that drill?
A couple of good reps from Nate Herbig. I thought he was going against the Jets defensive lineman Folorunso Fadasuki, and after Fadasuki slipped to the ground, they did a rematch, and I thought Nate Herbig did a great job of walling him off. Bryce Huff, the Jets defensive end, came after Jordan Mailata on a bull rush, and Jordan Mailata, who outweighs him by probably 120 pounds or so, was not having any of that whatsoever.
That was the same as yesterday, too. Same two guys went up against each other yesterday, and Mailata shut the door on it quick.
And then toward the end of the session, they were working on some two-man games. Great rep from LaRaven Clark and Brett Toth, working at tackle and guard respectively. They did a good job against the linemen Tanzel Smart and John Franklin Myers. And I thought Herbig had another good rep in this drill, going against Jonathan Marshall, the defensive tackle for the Jets. So some good flashes there from some of the young offensive linemen for the Eagles.
When those were going on, Fran, the O-line D-line one-on-ones, the running back linebacker one-on-ones were going on as well. And what did we see from Kenny Gainwell at Memphis? Some reps where he looked like a receiver. He caught a ball today down the field. What did we see? Late hands, something you see from top flight receivers in this league, and plucked the ball over his shoulder. And it was that flash that just kind of reminded me of that Memphis tape where he lined up out wide and ran hitches and ran goes and ran double moves. And had a really, really good day today collectively, but particularly the one-on-one session. I think he caught all three targets, 3 different routes against 3 different defenders, particularly that one down the field. It definitely made me say, whoa.
They threw him back shoulder fades. It was insane to do that with a running back, but he has that skill set to be able to do it. For one-on-ones, I was actually with the Eagles receivers against the Jet corners, and the star of the show was Devontae Smith. And even you go on Twitter, a lot of the Jets writers were just blown away by just how smooth of a route runner he was. He turned a couple of the Jets' top corners around. He went on a slant. He went on a little corner route. I believe that one was against Bryce Hall. Got him completely spun in the spin cycle there, breaking back towards the pylon. Devontae looked really, really good. John Hightower had a good drill. He had a couple of really nice reps as well. He had a really nice route on a corner route. He caught a nice jump ball along the left sideline as well. J.J. Arthega-Whiteside had a couple of nice reps. So, the receivers, DBs, one-on-ones, that was really fun. For me, I guess my big takeaway, like I said, I went over and I watched the defense. And this defensive line, guys, we'll keep talking about it, just continues to stand out. They're really, really strong up front with that first unit. You look at Fletcher Cox and Jayvon Hargrave, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat in there today, and just so disruptive. And what I tried to do, I tried to stay right along the line of scrimmage, along the sideline, just so I could get a sense of the pushback that either side was getting. And it just felt like on every play, the Eagles were winning that battle along the line of scrimmage. There was one where it ended up being like a coverage sack. Zach Wilson broke the pocket, ran to his right. Jayvon Hargrave took the guard from New York and put him 7 yards into the backfield. It just completely exploded in the line of scrimmage. A little bit earlier, Cox and Hargrave both got to the quarterback at the same time. Hargrave got the sack to seal it for the ones in the 2-minute drill at the end of practice. The defensive line, just so impressive. We said the same thing last week against New England during the joint practices. This group, really, really good.
And what was the up and down report on Becton and Vera Tucker, who are not Becton left practice early yesterday with a potential concussion. Vera Tucker, I think, participated in team, but not one-on-ones. What was the report today?
So
Becton had a concussion.
Yeah, Becton did not play today. Vera Tucker was in there. He actually got a little bit of a shoving match with Fletcher Cox at one point. They kind of bit off a little bit more you could chew there with that one. It calmed down pretty quickly, but that was actually, there was a period late in practice, and we're pretty sure we heard on the sideline, this one's live, guys. This one's live. And they were down on the goal line, and I'm pretty sure it was a live period down on the ground because a few plays went to the ground from tackling standpoint. So it was good to be able to see ones versus ones tackling down on the goal line between both sides. But look, I'll tell you, like, even just watching the defense, like in that period, okay, it was the ones, then the twos, then the ones, then the threes. Eagles defense, they came out, they had 6 total reps, the first team unit. They kept the Jets out of the end zone on the first 4 plays. And whether it was a pass breakup, good tackle by Eric Wilson down inside the goal line. Fletcher Cox had a stop. Brandon Graham on the very first play, he had a big tackle. And then you go to that 2-minute drill at the end of practice where, all right, first team offense versus the Jets defense. Now we're going to switch. It'll be the Jets offense versus the Eagles won every single one of those sessions. Eagles offense go down, they score a touchdown. Defense, they force a 3 or 4 and out, ending with that Hargrave sack I mentioned earlier. Then the second team with the offense, Joe Flacco leads them down to points, and then the defense comes back out and they get off the field. So really decisive win. And I thought the defensive side of the football looked really, really good, namely that defensive front.
Certainly, the big thing with that scrimmage situation, it was 45 seconds left and you were down 8, so you had to score a touchdown and get the 2-point conversion. But I thought a fantastic way to finish off the joint practices with both sides of the ball looking so strong. It remains to be seen how much we'll see of the starters come Friday night in the preseason finale. They got a ton of reps these last couple of days, and I think definitely the way that they finished will definitely play a role into how much that they're going to play.
Play of the day for anybody. For me, it was the Hargrave sack at the end. And not only that, Hargrave, so he gets the sack at the very end. Then he does the celebration where he kicks the door down and looks right at the Jets sideline. And he said after practice that was an ode to Vinny Curry now with the Jets, who unfortunately said that he's going to have to miss the season due to a medical condition. He tweeted that out this afternoon. But.
Yeah, so he was diagnosed with a blood disorder. His spleen had to be removed, and he's on blood thinners. So, yeah, but it's tough that this comes out while the Eagles happen to be in town on top.
I will say, though, so Vinny's on the sideline, and he had as much energy as ever and was he looked like a coach. He's got the green jumpsuit on. He's hyping up his guys. He's talking trash to the Eagles defense when they're out there, great jawing back and forth between both sides. But it was funny after the Hargrave sack just goes over and he gives a little celebration. Everybody was having a good time.
So in terms of the big play for me, it was a lot of red zone stuff. So there's not too much that's standing out from the highlight reel stuff. I'm going to go to the scrimmage. I'll actually go. I guess they took this off the board. I'm not sure why, but Quez Watkins on a broken play, Jalen Hurts, he might have been considered sacked.
That's what it was. There was actually a sack. Yep.
Okay, so Hurts, got a call for a sack, but in theory, knowing how he can scramble, kept the play alive. And threw a dart into the right side of the end zone. And Quez Watkins with this brilliant tiptoe grab. All the Jets defenders were saying out of bounds. The referees were right there signaling touchdown. But unfortunately, because of the sack, they took it back. But still, they got the touchdown. A couple plays later, it was Greg Ward over the middle. He juked the safety, Sherrod Niesman, in the middle of the open field, was untouched and then scampered in on 4th down to get the points. And then the 2-point conversion actually was another beautiful play where Hurts hit Devontae Smith in the back of the end zone. In theory, that would tie the game. So, but the Watkins, just another big highlight reel catch from Watkins. Shocker. It's been a consistent theme, it seems like, all throughout camp.
Well, I'm glad you brought up that 2-pointer, C-Mac, because it was so much similar to the Watkins catch in that it was improvisational and that the initial concept was a little busted, but they kept the play alive. The quarterback kept his eyes down the field and the receivers worked to get open. And that 2-point conversion, I think, was designed for the running back, got caught in some traffic, and Devontae Smith kept working and got open, and Hurts kept his eyes up. You're going to see a lot of that. So, just like we talked yesterday, that cat and mouse of allowing these play extending quarterbacks to do what they do on the practice field. I thought you just set up 2 perfect plays of that to open the 2-minute series and then that 2-point conversion Sometimes it's in structure. Sometimes they need a couple extra seconds outside the pocket. So I'm glad the coaches let that 2-pointer go.
Yeah, well, it was funny because you talked about this yesterday, Ben, that so often we get those arguments out in the field where it's like, oh, that was a sack. Oh, no, like I'm getting the quarterback's getting out of it. Today, there was like a legitimate argument. Like the Jets defense was pissed that they were going to call that a touchdown. So they're like, no, we got him down. So they ended up bringing it back and calling it back for a sack. But it was really funny. I thought of you right away. After that play. That was funny.
I just want to chime in real quick because on the first team defense, Avonte Maddox did a great job making a quote unquote tackle on the open field, and literally the whole defensive sideline is circling their arms to the referee to keep running the clock. Be like, don't give them out of bounds. Just keep. It was just a big symphony all at once trying to make that happen, and sure enough, the clock kept running as they were able to get off the field.
It was a lot of good. It was good energy today. I thought it was a really good practice overall. Guys, let's go big question because honestly today, we don't know the answer yet, but it seems like this might be the last full practice available to us from a media standpoint.
Yeah, this is
here for training camp. I couldn't get a solid answer when I asked public relations, but we'll see. It seems like that it's the time of year, right, going into the final preseason game. So with that said, this in theory would be the last of our training camp podcasts. I want to ask you, like, who's a player just kind of blew you away? Who impressed you most here this summer in training camp? Like for me, I've talked about him a couple times already. It's Jayvon Hargrave. I think when you look at 97, he did not participate at all in training camp a year ago. Guys, the way that he practiced here this summer, I think I can confidently say he might be one of the best players on this team this year. Like we always talk about this Eagles defense and we talk about the offense and who the names are. I think we might be able to put Hargrave up on that same mantle as some of these other big names that the Eagles have on that side. He has looked awesome, just unblockable in so many different ways. And it's not just, he started out fast and then slowed down. Start to finish, he's been unblockable. He has been awesome. To me, he would be my pick.
The thing about Hargrave is that impressed me the most is that he had the ankle injury. And that gave you a little pause because he battled injuries last season. And that's what, kind of gave him the slow start and, wasn't able to get going until late in the season. But that he came back from the ankle injury.
Yeah, what do you miss a day?
Yeah, it was a day or two.
Yep.
But still, the fact that, he still has that lower body explosion, is still able to work his way into the backfield, still wreaking havoc at every turn. No, great call on Hargrave. I'll go on the offensive side of the ball. And this play had, I would say, probably a little bit of a slow start because he actually started on the sidelines due to a non-COVID illness, and that's Quez Watkins. And I think considering the draft positioning, where he was on the pecking order coming into training camp, I don't think many people thought that he'd be running with the first team offense. But this first team wide receiver group of Jalen Reagor, Devontae Smith, and Quez Watkins seems pretty set as we go into this final preseason game. And Quez Watkins has just silky smooth speed, great acceleration, has made tons of highlight reel catches. They've been contested catches where he's had to go above the rim, high point the ball, and it's been consistent, ever since he got back from the illness, consistent day in and day out, a reliable weapon. You could tell the quarterbacks have trust in him. They'll throw him the ball and expect him to go get it. So, I know there's big things expected for Devontae Smith and Jalen Reagor, who have certainly flashed throughout camp, and I'm excited to see these guys work together. But I think considering where he was coming from, where even though he said at his press conference today, he still feels like he's trying to earn a roster spot. I definitely think he's cementing himself as one of the, as you said, Fran, talk about Hargrave, one of the key cogs for the offensive side of the football going into 2021.
And for me, I think we get so excited about what's new, what's next, the young thing, and the explosive pass catchers and the free agent corners. And it comes at the expense of the mainstays. And I've been blown away with Jason Kelce this summer, set to be 34 years old in a couple months, entering season 11. And I've just been blown away day in and day out from his energy, his ability at this age, his athleticism. He just does so much for this team. And listen, Brandon Brooks was out last year. Seumalo has been up and down. He's got different people to the left and right. He's got different people with their hands under his butt at the quarterback position. But Jason Kelce just brings it every day. He is as reliable as anybody on this team and anybody in this league. And I think we know what he means to the city, what he means to this team, but don't overlook this guy. I know he's getting to the backside of his career. Did we potentially draft his replacement in Landon Dickerson? Don't worry about that. Jason Kelce is playing at a high level. And I just feel like we overlook some of these mainstay veterans at the expense of the young toys and the new guys. And, the Jason Kelce's, the Brandon Brooks, the Fletcher Coxes, those guys are playing really good football, and I'm excited to see them deployed in 2021.
I just want to add on to that with Kelce. There was, during the high red zone period team drill, there was a screen pass to Miles Sanders where he fought his way in for the score, and Jason Kelce just erupted, was just so excited and pumped about the result of the play that he still gets fired up even after all these years to help lead the way. So agree with Fran. It was well said about what Kelce means. And, I think we should really just cherish this season watching him, because we don't know when it's going to be the end of one of the greatest Eagles in franchise history.
And he's out there with like his chop shop, arms splint every day. I don't know what he's doing with that thing, but he just looks like that gritty, football player, that nasty offensive lineman you want out there that sets the tone and is certainly the leader of this team.
We got Mortal Kombat character out there today. Guys, this has been, exactly. This has been awesome every single day. When we have a day where there's not a podcast, I hear it on Twitter every single, when's the podcast coming back? How come we haven't heard from you guys a couple days? The daily podcast, those are coming to an end, but we're going to have the full Eagle Eye in the Sky schedule coming up here in the coming weeks. So make sure you stay subscribed right here to the feed. Ben, Chris, outstanding job as always here over the course of training camp. We'll talk to you again here on the podcast soon.
Well, like I said, great stuff there from Ben Fennell and Chris McPherson all throughout training camp here as we get closer and closer to the regular season just around the corner. Thanks so much to everybody for your continued support of this show and all the rest of our podcasts here with Eagles Entertainment. That being said, I think that'll do it. Another show in the books here on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, fueled by Gatorade. For everybody here at the NovaCare Complex, I am Fran Duffy. We'll talk to you next week.